Hello and welcome to our post-match show after an excellent performance away at Millwall. I'm delighted to be joined once again by our Academy loan manager, David Fox, of course, Mel Booth, and for the first time today, Andy Lawson, who's a broadcaster and a massive Huddersfield Town fan. How is everyone?
Feeling good after that game.
Absolutely, we all are. Andy, obviously, a Huddersfield Town fan yourself. Just describe your emotions and your feeling after that win.
I'm made up. I mean, I was watching the first 10 or so minutes and there were a couple of opportunities where Millwall could have had penalties and we looked nervous, and then it was as though something changed. I don't know if tactically we changed something or they changed something, but suddenly Josh Koroma seemed able to get space and had a couple of chances. Then obviously he gets his goal. And after that, Millwall had a few opportunities of bossing the game, but really, you look at it now, we've won 3-0, and I look back and I think, well, that actually feels like a fair result. So I'm delighted after today, definitely.
It was a really complete performance, wasn't it, Mel? Obviously, we created chances, kept a clean sheet.
Yeah, you couldn't have asked for more, really. I mean, 5 changes at the beginning against a team who've lost only once all season in the league. On paper, it looked a really tough test, and everyone had to stand up to be counted. I was speaking with Steve Chicken before the game and saying we really needed to be on the front foot. We couldn't afford. I thought at Birmingham, I thought the passing was too slow. It wasn't incisive enough. And today we played it exactly right. And once we did get on the front foot, I thought we were extremely effective, Adam, and it was a really encouraging performance.
You mentioned those 5 changes. It's almost like Carlos felt that with his style of play and the ferocity and the nature that he wants us to play the game at, it just needed that little bit of a shift up, didn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. It needed, after 2 successive defeats and everyone just feeling a little bit down, it really needed people to step up to the plate today. And I thought tactically we were excellent. Yeah, there were a few little niggles in between, and we got a little bit frustrated at times. But I thought generally, as the game went on, we looked extremely assured. I thought the 2 lads in the centre at the back, particularly Sarr, were really commanding. I thought the midfield just got better and better. I mean, we're thinking at half time, oh, this is, Alex Pritchard going off after such a good half turned into a blessing in disguise. Because, Bakker came on and did ever so well. Lewis O'Brien just got better and better and better, and we know there's more to come from Lewis. And so that's really encouraging for these couple of games we've got coming up before the international break. But I thought the front guys as well, they showed for the ball all the time. They were willing to link up. They were willing to put in the hard yards defensively. And I thought all round, as you've said quite rightly, Adam, it was a terrific team performance.
And Foxy, obviously, we spoke to you after the Norwich City game, our first game of the season. For you, how much have you seen Huddersfield Town develop in terms of style, belief?
Obviously they're developing all the time. Carlos is a coach. He wants to coach. He wants to get people better. He wants to get players better. So it will take time. Certain aspects will take time, but what you saw in that Norwich game at the start of the season was the little seeds are getting planted, and hopefully now it'll be a real chance to kick on, because the way they play, the way they press, the way they want to play on the front foot. You're not going to win every. It's the Championship. No one wins every game. There's ups and downs to these things that are important, and I thought the team reacted really well to 2 defeats and thoroughly deserved the win. It's funny, Andy mentioned about 3-0 was about right. I was thinking with 10 minutes ago that, if we win this 1-0, I don't think that was, that wasn't just. It was a 3-0 scoreline, and thoroughly deserved. Really pleased with the way they played, and lots to take forward.
I think one of the big things over the last couple of games, especially the one on Wednesday night, was a lot of people discussing game management. Obviously, we went to 1-1 on Wednesday and were pushing for a winner and ended up having a bit of a sucker punch and conceding. Today, I thought you could sense a notable improvement almost in terms of game management, how we were as a team, when we needed to slow it down, we slowed it down. When we needed to quicken it up, we quickened it up. Is that something that you saw, Foxy?
Yeah, definitely. I think, you're going to learn. You're going to learn all the time, and obviously the manner of the defeat at Birmingham would have been frustrating for the manager. It'd be frustrating for the players because they had a point there for them, and to lose it like that will be disappointing. But yeah, it's going to come. The way they're playing, it's going to take that little bit of time, that little bit of fine tuning. But honestly, the way they'll have learned after that Birmingham game, the way they'd have gone into the details of everything, it'd have been very thorough. And yeah, hopefully, it's a sign of things to come. Being, going away to Millwall, I know there's no fans, which probably makes it that bit different. But you're still coming under that same sort of test. They had so many corners, but I thought dealt with it really well, managed the game really well, and then sort of last 5-10 minutes, they just sort of took the handbrake off, and there was players flooding forward, try and get the second, try and get the third, and kill the game. And that was a really good sign. There was no, at 1-0 up, there was no sort of sitting back, trying to soak it all up for the last 15 minutes. They still played the same way. They still were very brave with the ball. They were playing out from the back, which I thought was great. It's a sign of maturity, I think, amongst, there's a lot of games in that back line and Hoggy in particular. So yeah, there's game experience and game management shouldn't be a problem. I think obviously Birmingham was disappointing, but going forward, I don't think that should be too much of a problem.
And Mel, you're a massive fan of Josh Koroma. We spoke about him in depth before, but his finish was a real striker's finish, wasn't it? A snapshot. He had to do it quickly. He was under pressure, and to tuck it into the bottom corner the way he did was fantastic, well above his years.
Yeah, and if you think about it, he'd had a couple of chances before that as well. Yeah. So, after the first sort of 10 minutes when Millwall started well and we were a little bit under the cosh, and as Foxy said, we had to keep those set pieces out. We really came into our own, and if you think about it, bossed the rest of the first half really. But that was a cracking goal because Pritch was involved in the build-up, sending it out wide. But before that, Josh Koroma had been on the ball. He laid it back to Pritch, and then I love the way he just sort of drifted into the area, got across the two defenders. And he deserved the chance to shoot and put it in the corner because he made that space for himself, and he got across the front of the defenders and got the goal, and richly deserved. And I think he's had a really good game today. When you look at it overall, I think he's played excellently, Josh. And I think that there's much more to come from him. He was bought as a work in progress, which is exactly what he is. Benefited from that little loan spell he had at Rotherham last season, and we're now starting to see the fruits of what you can give. I mean, I think it was a bold selection up front. I don't think many of us would have gone with that selection that Carlos did, but obviously he's rotating things. Fraser took him out of the picture. He left Diakabi in there, and to be fair, Diaz had a good game today. He was unlucky, in fact, not to put us 2-0 ahead about on the hour mark with that cracking shot, which was only like inches wide, and the keeper wouldn't have got to it. So, I thought that was quite encouraging from him today after, a pretty flat average performance in the previous game. But he came back and he played for the team, and I don't think anyone's let the team down today. But I was particularly chuffed for Josh Koroma to get a goal again. Yeah.
For you, Andy, that must be really pleasing as well. Obviously, a fan of the football club, seeing someone like Josh obviously came to the club last year, a player for us to develop, then coming into this year and seeing how, obviously, his loan spell last year at Rotherham, but also how Carlos has helped him develop and really turn him into a championship striker.
Yeah, I love that this is something that we as a club we're trying to do, is bring players in. Yeah, we've brought in some players who are for now, but we've also brought in some players who are the projects. And when you see them coming through and you see a Josh Koroma and you look at his time last season on loan at Rotherham and you see he does well, and then you see maybe pre-season this year, he looks ready. And now that we're however many games we are into the season, he looks more than ready. He looks like a really good championship level player, whether he's playing anywhere in that front three. Really, he looks like he's got the energy levels. He looks like he can put the ball in the back of the net. He looks as though there's a lot to come from him, but also just something as Mel said, Alex Pritchard. hugely involved in that first goal that we scored. I was watching a replay of the build up to that twice. He makes really big, impactful contributions. Then with that final ball out to Diakabi, who nods it into Koroma. And I just thought that, yeah, Josh Koroma, for me, I would actually say today probably is my man of the match. But going up to the end of the first half, I was maybe actually looking at Pritch and thinking what a huge contribution he'd made. And a player who, you know, been waiting for him to have some big games, and today it really looked like he was going to have one of those.
Yeah, absolutely. And Foxy, on Josh, obviously, we spoke about him before, and you said obviously you had a lot to do with him last year, but he's oozing confidence now on the pitch, isn't he? You could see from pretty much the first 5 minutes he was looking for opportunities, trying to get early shots away. Could have had more, obviously, in the second half, but this will just come more and more with him now.
Yeah, and he looks like he's in a rhythm at the minute, which games gives you. He's playing. If he's not starting, he's coming on. He's an integral part of the team at the minute, and thoroughly deserved, because his performance has warranted that. But yeah, it's great to see. Like you say, he was brought to the club, and I think sometimes you bring players in at that sort of age, and everyone expects him to go straight in the team, and you've got to have that little bit of patience. You've got to look at it as a 18-month or 2-year project where he might have a few downs, but ultimately they've seen something that they like, that they want to nurture, they want to develop, and you know he's doing really well. I'm really pleased for him, because he's come back at the start of pre-season fit and firing and ready to make his mark, which is great. And you know, if you're doing that, you've got half a chance.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've touched upon this already, Andy and Foxy yourselves. Obviously, Pippa's goal put us 2-0 ahead, sealed the game. It had its luck about it. Hopefully, this one goes down as Pippa's goal. But Andy, it was thoroughly deserved, wasn't it? After chances that we had created. Josh had some, Dia had some, Isaac Kambenza had one as well. I mean, when you add all that up, despite it having a little bit of fortune about it, it was deserved.
Yeah, very much so. And with people, we've seen he can play as a right back and play as a right back brilliantly. When he came on as the left winger today, I was a bit like, oh, okay, right, he's going to left wing, and actually he's brilliant, cutting in on his right foot. It was sort of Carlin Grant-esque at times, where he was trying to like cut in and things. And yeah, it was. We as a team deserved that look. Pieper as a player deserved that look. And at first, initially, I actually thought, that's not gone on all the way, that, but I'm happy obviously that it did, and we got the second goal with that. And yeah, he's a player I'm very excited about. I did note in the commentary on Radio Leeds, Oggy was reminding everyone that Pieper had only played, Adam, you probably know this more than me, but something like 10 don't look so nervous, 10 games or something last season in Spain, and then for us he's already played something like 8, 9, something like that. So they're being a bit careful with him in terms of, you know, trying not to burn him out. But what an exciting player. What the fans over there were saying, he's a great player. He's a great player. I'm so delighted we have him at Huddersfield now.
Yeah, and Juninho Bacuna set that goal up, Mel. Obviously, like you said, Pritch had a good first half. Obviously had to withdraw through injury for the second, but Bacca came on and he showed what he could do with the ball, didn't he? Especially in those last 5 minutes.
Yeah, it's terrific. He took a little bit of time to get going in the second half, I thought. But after the first 10 minutes, when he actually got on the ball and had a little bit of time, he then started finding real pockets of space to do some damage. And, you know, as Andy said, Pieper was one of those who benefited towards the end of the game, playing on the left-hand side, which we hadn't expected. A little bit of credit to Didi. I thought he came in and did really well at right back. He wasn't fazed by it all. You've got to give the lad credit because he's been patiently waiting for that chance. And none of us thought that he would get it because of how well Pieper's been playing. But he was, you know, Bacca was involved in the last 2 goals, I think. Yeah. And, you know, credit, I made a note, I mentioned Naby Sarr earlier. If you think just before Pieper scored, he made a fantastic block in the box to deny Bud Varson, I think it was. Absolutely fantastic. And that summed up people putting the bodies on the line, determined to keep a clean sheet. And I thought that really summed up the effort of the team when it was still 1-0. And then we go up the other end and get the goal. A bit like Andy, I'm not entirely convinced that it was entirely over the line. But anyway, we'll take it because we've had a lot of things go against us the last couple of years. But yeah, and fabulous for Baka to be involved in that sweeping move for the third goal as well. It was really chuffed for everybody concerned today.
That's the beauty of goal line technology nowadays, Mel.
Yeah, we didn't have technology of any sort when I started covering town, mate.
I wasn't going to remind you of that. You mentioned Didi there. Obviously, Foxy, you'll have had a bit to do with Didi. Obviously, this was his first start of the season. He's come off the bench in previous matches. But the best compliment you can give him is that he didn't look out of place at all, did he? He came in for Pippa, who has been outstanding since he joined the club. But Didi came in for him and he didn't put a foot wrong.
No, he didn't. And to be fair, I was messaging a few people at the club during the game saying I was watching it and asking how Didi was doing. I said he just looks comfy, and he looks comfy at the level. He looks like the manager can give Pippa a rest if he needs to miss a game or he's rested, or Didi can play. He looked confident. He looked fit. He defended well. He kept a clean sheet. Part of a back four that kept a clean sheet, and hopefully, confidence-wise, that'll do in the world of good because, you know, he's a player that should be knocking on the door with his attributes and his athletic ability. He should be knocking on the door, and I think Pippa's come in and probably shown him the way and showed him what a right back in this league has to do. And when he gets his chance, he's got to try and do it. But yeah, delight for him as well. There's, like you say, there's loads of positives today, and from an academy point of view, like you say, having Didi come in and start and play well, it is great.
And still on an academy point of view, Lewis O'Brien scored as well. Like Mel said earlier, there's still, I think, more to come from Lewis. He'll still be getting used to the system and building up his match fitness. But equally, that was great to see, wasn't it, for Lewis to get his first goal of the year? Yeah,
it was, and it probably summed him up that he's running past people in the 91st minute of the game, and he's running past centre halves and running past midfielders. And I thought the weighted pass from Baka was really good. Made his mind up with a finish, and yeah, he's tucked it away great, and he'll get fitter, he'll get stronger. And I think the way the town are set up this season, and with the way he wants his midfielders to play, I think it'll only benefit Lewis, and I think his performances will get better and better, and you know, prove what an integral part of the team he is. And yeah, the goal was great, and I think it was all about desire and that ability to run past people, and he done it really well at the end.
Yeah, absolutely. And Mel, we've already spoke slightly about Adama Diakhaby. Obviously, on Wednesday night, he was criticised by supporters fairly heavily. But for him to come back, obviously stay in the starting lineup, and to get that assist, it was great to see, wasn't it? Because he put in a good performance today. He was creating chances. He obviously had a few himself as well. His defensive work, for me, was excellent. The way he tracked back players and won the ball. He's another one, isn't he, that it will take a bit of time for him to develop under this system, and seeing what Carlos has done to other players, hopefully over time we'll see the true Adama Diakhaby.
You certainly hope so, Adam. Yeah, I mean, you know, you don't want any player in blue and white stripes to be losing confidence and to not feel that they've got that support of people. He had one of those games the other night that can happen to anyone. Not a lot of things that he touched turned to anything, let alone anything resembling gold. So, you know, for him today to come on, to be involved in the first goal, like Andy said, it was, he nodded it back into the danger area, which was good, having found the space to get onto Pritchard's pass. And, you know, he's certainly got the pace. There were a few times when he got into good areas and he found men. where he was giving but he has a tendency to give the ball away far too easily. And today he was finding a pass and he was finding people, and hopefully it'll have breathed some confidence into him, because we want him to produce in a similar way to Isaac. We want him to produce, and you know, it's good that he'll have gained some confidence from how he's performed today, and help the team to a really excellent result. And that, you know, that everyone should be a part of that and feel that they've been a part of that and feel that they've played a positive part in that, because they have.
Yeah, absolutely. And Mel, you've already touched upon Naby Sarr, and from a defensive perspective, I just want to delve into that a little bit further. Obviously, he was suspended for the last game, came back in today, and immediately you could see with him on that left-hand side, there was more balance about the defence. Obviously, he's a massive unit as well, which completely helps from set pieces.
I think he looks a really good footballer personally. I think he's a great presence. He's good in the air. He's brave in the tackle. And on the ball, he's clearly very comfortable. And I think that the lads at the back today would point to the guy just in front of them, Jonathan Hogg. I think we've not really mentioned much about Hoggy at all during this conversation, any of us. And we'd be wrong not to do that, because Hoggy was very influential throughout that game. I think he sort of muscled one out, and he went out for a goal kick right near the end, and Naby Sarr was straight across with the high fives, saying, you know, great bit of work there. And that sort of thing, that sort of confidence and teamwork is really important. And I think Naby Sarr looks a real footballer. I think he's going to be a very, very good acquisition for Huddersfield Town. And he looks comfortable at this level. And like you say, with his size, his presence, his pace, ability in the air, ability on the deck, I think we've got a really good player there, and hopefully for many years to come.
Yeah, he looked very assured. And Andy, when Matt Smith came on, obviously he's a big physical presence, and Shindy did really well with him. He kept obviously trying to shift over to his side, but Shindy's an experienced centre-half. You kind of expect that from him nowadays, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned Christopher Schindler's name to me, and I think me and most Town fans just go legend immediately. And the fact, yeah, you're right. Matt Smith was maybe trying to go toward Christopher Schindler, but then Shindy handled everything that he needed to do well. I mean, Mel was mentioning that Jonathan Hogg we hadn't maybe mentioned. Ben Hamer we haven't mentioned, and Ben Hamer was part of that defensive shift, if you will, that when the balls were going to Matt Smith or near Matt Smith, Ben Hamer was commanding his area, which is something which he does. He is a player who, I actually feel with Town, many of the players look as though confidence over these last few games has really been not ramping up, but you can see it. And although we maybe have the odd moment of nervousness, largely we've got players now who generally feel comfortable in themselves, but also with one another. And so it kind of starts from the back. The fact that Ben Hamer seems to be really in command of his area means that the defense feel like they've got more protection behind them. They can then see that the attacking line are going to put the ball in the back of the net. And I just feel across the team we're getting more confident. And yeah, the way that we handled Matt Smith and then Bud Varson as well, I think just is testament to how our confidence levels are higher than they have been.
I think you can see that across the team, really. It's really shining through. I mean, even after the last two defeats, Carlos said he wanted to see a reaction from his players midweek. He then wanted to see how they reacted and what their character was after defeats, back-to-back defeats. You really saw it today because they fought, didn't they? The whole game for each other. They had that spirit. It's pleasing to see, I can imagine, Andy, from a supporter's perspective.
Oh, absolutely. We're a team and we play as a team, and you can absolutely see that everybody has got a focus and a goal. And when we came into this season and we brought Carlos Corberán in, we were kind of promised, if you will, an attacking different style of football. And I love it. I absolutely love it, because even though, yeah, there are going to be some games where naivety maybe catches us out, and maybe, yeah, like we saw against Birmingham, we're going to be in a situation where too many men have gone forward maybe, and you're going to occasionally get sucker punched, but also you know that we're going to see exciting, good football. And we're proving now that there is the attacking presence there to go to get the goals. And yeah, fine, we're going to concede occasionally, but I've got confidence in what's on the pitch that we're an exciting team to watch now. And at the end of the day, that's, as a fan, that's what you want.
Yeah, absolutely. And then Mel, obviously, with you, we spoke a lot about freshening it up and players coming in and out. It feels now, obviously, with that 5 changes coming in, obviously Danny Ward, Romani Edmonds-Green, Tommy Elphick, and Alex Vallejo, who's obviously still in quarantine, are still to come into the squad. There's a little bit of depth about it now, isn't there?
Yeah, and Ryan Schofield, of course. And people recognizing what they have to do, and it seems that is what people, the penny is dropping. And just to go back to what Andy was saying about, you know, enjoying the style of football and the way things are going, and yeah, there will be hurdles that we trip over along the way, but if we get fans back into the stadium, they will be loving this. The atmosphere will be fantastic. If we could have fans at the Bristol City match and the Luton match now, before the international break, the fans will be loving seeing Town playing like they have done today. And let's hope that, you know, we get that sooner rather than later.
I'm sure you'd echo that, Andy.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, well, obviously, we'd all love to be in the ground and things, but hopefully, if we can just keep going as we are, once we are back in the ground, there's so much pride, so much passion, so much just playing for each other that I just love about it. And yeah, echoing exactly what Mel says, for me as a fan, this is great to watch, hugely enjoyable, and I'm so glad that we've got the team that we've currently got.
Just finally, I wanted to say, Foxy, obviously Harry Buffalo today. It was his 100th consecutive start in the EFL across 3 divisions: Sky Bet League 2, Sky Bet League 1, and the Championship. As a former professional footballer yourself, that's an incredible achievement, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, and I think it speaks volumes for his professionalism. The way he looks after himself in between matches. It's easy to pick up a niggle these days and people to miss the games here and there. But no, it just speaks volumes for the lad. He gives everything he's got every game and every training session. And he's an example to a lot of the players about sort of what hard work, what dedication, sprinkling the quality that he's got and where that can take you. And yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if he extends that run for a while, because, you know, he looks fit. He looks like, you know, his body's holding up. He's fit. He does his extras in the gym. You know, all these things that go into being a proper professional footballer. He's got it. And yeah, delighted for the lad. I've known him since he was a young lad coming through at Norwich when I was there as well. So to see him progress the way he has, it's great. And yeah, I hope he continues it.
Yeah, and hopefully this Huddersfield Town form continues. Andy, Foxy, Mel, thank you very much for joining us and analysing this performance. I think we can all admit it was a real treat on Halloween at the Den. Thank you.